I'm Tammy Stewart, lifelong resident, of course, a graduate of Pell City High School, along with my husband, my daughters, my son-in-laws, and now one granddaughter. I will say that we received wonderful educations at Pell City High School and had many wonderful teachers. I had the privilege of working with many wonderful teachers and admin. And so that was before marriage, and I've been married 47 years, so that says a lot. It takes a lot. But I find this a privilege of being called to interview with you.
Your first question. Please describe the role of a local school board member as you understand it. Why are you the best person to fill this position?
Well, as I said, I worked under boards, but we weren't part of the board when I was employed 25 years with schools. However, after I retired to keep twin granddaughters who were born and take care of my mother, for 10 years I've been working at the St. Clair Association of Realtors, where I'm the CEO, the CFO, technology director. I wear all the hats, just like everyone in the central office and other offices. So I work with a board of 16 people, and we train every year. It's required. So each year I have 3 hours, sometimes 12 hours of training for working with the board, how a CE should work with the board, CEO, and how board members, their responsibilities. We've had national trainers and even international trainers. And one of my favorite sayings from the international trainer was, a board governs at 50,000 feet. And the superintendent, in this case, manages. That doesn't mean a board does not need to know and have knowledge of, and work with the superintendent and work with each other. They have a fiduciary duty, which is trust and ethics, as a board member. And their faces should be seen not just at board meetings. They should respect one another, keep confidence on things that need to be confidential. So that's why, with my experience in the last 10 years, I would say I could make a good board member for Pell City Schools.
What are the most significant issues our school district is currently facing? How would you propose the district address these challenges?
There's always going to be difficulties in a school system, even ours. There are more probably positives to say. We have hard-working teachers and staff, and that goes from the secretaries to the custodians to the lunchroom workers, everyone, maintenance. They do work really hard to have professional development, to coordinate with each other, and teach our children. But there are things that we cannot always stop and that we have to follow, and that can be federal regulations, state regulations, such as CHOOSE, the Literacy Act, which is we want children to be able to read. But I look back several years ago to No Child Left Behind that came down from the federal level that we were expected to have every single child at the same level in a certain amount of time. So, as I said, we don't always get to choose what we have to do to improve, just like report cards. But our teachers do work and work hard along with our admin.
The Alabama State Department of Education scored Pell City schools an 80 in 2022, an 81 in 2023, and an 83 in 2024. What are your thoughts on this trend and the trajectory of the school system overall?
I like seeing that we are steadily going up. We may not be as high as some, and of course, we always want to improve, and no more so than the teachers and the admin and parents in the community. I think one thing that happens is everyone does not understand what's involved with that score. That's a one-day test on each subject, that they look at absenteeism. I was told not long ago if a student, say, was in the hospital that had cancer or cystic fibrosis or whatever serious illness or an accident, and they were in the hospital 18 or more days, it still counts against this regardless. So there are those sort of factors. Of course, graduation rate and academic achievement is considered. But I did see that our system, if I'm not mistaken, we had a 95% reading score for the district just this year.
Do we have any follow-up questions from any of the steering committee members?
Yeah, I do, Stewart. You said a lot about improving our schools. What do you propose we do to improve? Do our schools need to improve? What area do we need improvement? What are your ideas to improve the school system?
There's three main areas. Number one, I think you have to have safety, and we have worked on safety, but I always told parents as a principal, you cannot teach academics until you are safe and know you're going to have a safe environment. Our facilities, and then, of course, our academics. We still work on retaining or finding highly qualified teachers and retaining them. Right now, it's difficult to find special education teachers. Some systems are having problems even with counselors, speech language pathologists. So the people in place are working really hard, and they will continue to work hard. Our principals, our central office staff, they work with them. They all have school improvement plans and work on that. Also, our facilities, they've come a long way, but they're still going to have work in some areas. I've wondered today if we have started on our culinary the thought went out of my brain. But I know Dr. Martin said when we were talking about the sales tax, or not sales tax, the ad valorem tax, they wanted the culinary unit. I know that our ag part up in the top where the band was located and has now moved needed work. So those areas, bathrooms, of course, at the stadium and at the ball fields, those are the smaller things. But we're going to have growth. We continue to have growth. We have so many homes going up in so many new neighborhoods. We don't know how many will have children in those, but we're going to run into space, and probably already do in some areas. So I see improvement not only in academics, we can always improve, even though they work hard, but in facilities and safety.
How do you improve, though, in academics? What do you do? What's your...
Well, it can be programs. You talk to others. You look at other systems. You see what's working for them. We went through that. We had Kim Williams, who was our curriculum director, and she would go out and find those areas of curriculum, and especially reading and math, that worked. And you can't just change and jump from subject and program. But that's what you have to look at different ways. Are you teaching in a meaningful way? Are you using different techniques with what you have, with the different students to meet every need? It can be cooperative learning, it can be hands-on. we're gonna see a big, I think, improvement in our career tech because of Governor Ivy. Even though we've had a good one, it's gonna get better. But sometimes it's not the program itself. It has got to be your methods.
Yeah, thank you.
I just have a question, Ms. Tammy. One thing that you mentioned in your reason for applying, you said inspired by the thing, every child, every chance, every day. Will you just elaborate on that, please?
Yes, I saw that the superintendent of Alabama spoke. I read an article in February in Talladega. And that was the theme, or is the theme, for the State Department and his theme. And that is what we strive to do. It's everybody. It's the child that may be from a wealthy home. It may be a child that has no running water, and that still happens. No electricity, no food, no help at home because it's not that their parent does not want to help them, but they are just working to survive, and they may work several jobs. Those children may be home alone. So I think our teachers and our counselors and even our admin are good at finding those children and those needs. It can also be a loss of a parent who has a serious illness. I can think back, even as a counselor, things that we dealt with, such as we had a suicide with an 8th grade student when I was a counselor. We lost faculty members, Mr. White, and that had a ripple effect for a long time in all classes. You lose students to accidents. One year it was horrific in the number of students and faculty we'd lost. So all of those factors, but you've got to work for every child, whether they have on clean clothes or not, no matter who or where they're from. And that was one compliment I got from a parent. It was even after I retired, and I ran into them, and they said, "Miss Stewart, I appreciate you. You never showed a difference for any student or any parent, no matter who they were." And that, I'll carry it with me always. That's what we should do with every student.
Tammy, just a few follow-up questions. What is your perception of our school district's current working and learning environment? Do you have ideas on how to ensure and maintain a positive environment?
Well, if you'd asked me a couple of years ago, because staff and parents would see me out and talk to me, and it was that wave, and we were in the trough. Teachers, the morale was very low. Parents, a lot of parents, they were low. But I've seen a rise in that in the last year or so. And I've even asked some of the teachers I've seen, I've even asked high school students that I've seen, that morale is much better. And I think it will continue to rise. We have a new superintendent, nothing against Dr. Martin. I really like Dr. Martin. But we have a new superintendent. You're going to have a different process with the board. We have the folks that are admin, that are cheerleaders. They'll be the biggest cheerleaders you ever have for their students and parents and staff. So I think the board has to be a face that they know, and not just at a board meeting or in the newspaper or on the news. My thoughts are, you stop by and see that principal. I loved what I called walkabouts. It was not catching someone doing wrong, but it was observing their faces, the teachers, their enthusiasm, and just leaving little sticky notes. Great job, I think that the board could do that, and listen, active listening, whether it's a parent, someone in the community, or the staff. You have to actively listen with your body and your ears and know what they're saying. And I think that was another area maybe that our staff missed several years ago, was someone just listening.
What are your thoughts on the current structure of the PCSS curriculum? How would this district's curriculum balance college preparatory courses with vocational and life skills?
Well, I mentioned a moment ago about the career tech. At least they are now giving us another pathway or an area on a diploma for students that it doesn't mean they're not smart enough or they don't have the ACT score that they could go to college, but they are choosing not to go to college. We have a very good AP and honor system, and that has been in the works a long time, even since my daughters were there. We don't go to the vocational school any longer. That's been stopped for a while. But what they've done at the high school, and I hope it's continuing, and I'm sure it is, are these students that say went to, and we call it VOAG, but there's different areas of VOAG, that we had business leaders in industry that work with our school so that those students can go and work on a job and then go to school and of course have their curriculum. And a lot of those students have gone and started in those industries or maybe moved on to others with really well-paying jobs. We know there's a lot of students that sometimes choose college to go to college, and they end up with debt, dropping out. And so I think even our faculty are tuned in on that and can help them. A student can always go back to school. I didn't start out in college. If you listen to Mike Lowe, the dirty job man, you will know that we do not have enough what you consider blue-collar workers.
Thank you so much for your time and dedication to the Pell City Schools. This concludes your interview.
Thank you so much.